In this video, we'll recap the complete story of House of the Dragon Season 3, including the major battles, shocking deaths, betrayals, and the ending. The Dance of the Dragons has finally become a real war. After the events of Season 2, Westeros is divided between two rival Targaryen factions. On one side is Rhaenyra Targaryen, who believes she is the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. On the other is her half-brother, King Aegon II Targaryen, supported by the Greens. But in this war, there are no true winners. There are only families destroying themselves, kingdoms burning, and dragons turning the skies into battlefields. Season 3 begins with one of the most devastating battles of the entire Civil War. The Triarchy has attacked the Valyrian fleet at the Gullet, putting Corlys Velaryon and his ships in terrible danger. At the same time, Rhaenyra's son Jacaerys, known as Jace, refuses to stay away from the fighting. Rhaenyra is kept on Dragonstone because her advisors fear that losing their queen would destroy the Black Cause. But Jace cannot simply watch. He mounts Vermax while Baela rides Moondancer, and the two young dragon riders fly toward the battle. The fighting is chaotic. The Triarchy attacks the Valyrian fleet while ships burn across the water. Shirako Lohar pursues Corlys, forcing him into a dangerous rocky passage. Meanwhile, Rhaena finally bonds with the wild dragon Sheepstealer. The arrival of another dragon changes the balance of the battle. But the chaos also creates tragedy. Vermax is struck by a scorpion bolt. The young dragon crashes into the sea. Jace is then hit by Triarchy soldiers and falls to his death. Rhaena loses her eldest son. For the Blacks, this is more than the death of a prince. Jace was the future of Rhaenyra's claim. His death leaves the succession even more uncertain and pushes Rhaenyra toward a darker path. Corlys survives the battle, but the Valyrian fleet suffers terrible losses. Aelin also kills Lohar, ending one of the biggest threats during the battle. With Jace dead, Baela returns to Dragonstone carrying his body. Rhaenyra is devastated, but she has little time to grieve. The war continues. Meanwhile, Aegon is still alive. He and Larys Strong have been captured, but they eventually escape. Aegon is badly damaged and humiliated by everything that has happened to him, while Larys continues to manipulate events from the shadows. Rhaenyra now understands that she cannot simply wait for the Greens to collapse. She must take King's Landing. Daemon returns to Dragonstone after learning about Jace's death. But the relationship between Daemon and Rhaenyra is no longer as simple as it once was. Both have suffered enormous losses, and both want control over the war. Rhaenyra asks Daemon to investigate the mysterious rider of Sheepstealer. At the same time, Aemond arrives at Harrenhal with Vhagar. Harrenhal remains deeply connected to Aly's Rivers, whose strange visions and supernatural knowledge continue to influence the war. Aemond is injured, but Aly's helps him recover. The castle becomes a dangerous place where politics, prophecy, and magic begin to mix. While Aemond searches for power, Rhaenyra's forces prepare to enter King's Landing. And eventually, the city falls. Rhaenyra arrives with Daemon, Hugh Hammer, Ulf, and their dragons. The defenses of King's Landing collapse from within when members of the City Watch reveal their loyalty to Daemon. Rhaenyra enters the Red Keep. She expects to find Aegon, but the king has already escaped. Instead, Rhaenyra finds something almost as valuable: her grandfather, Otto Hightower. Otto has been one of the main architects behind the Green Cause since the beginning of the war. Now he stands helpless before Rhaenyra. In an emotional and brutal moment, Rhaenyra orders Otto's execution. Daemon also executes Jasper Wilde. Rhaenyra then sits on the Iron Throne. For the first time, she has physically taken control of King's Landing. But winning the capital does not mean winning the war. The city is starving. The treasury has been emptied. The people are frightened, and Rhaenyra quickly discovers that ruling Westeros is much harder than claiming it. The High Septon refuses to recognize her without proof that Aegon is dead. Rhaenyra therefore faces a dangerous problem. She has the capital, but she does not have unquestioned legitimacy. Meanwhile, Corlys reveals that the royal treasury has been emptied. The Blacks desperately need money. Rhaenyra begins hearing petitions from the people, and discovers just how badly the war has damaged King's Landing. The wealthy have hoarded food while ordinary people are starving. So Rhaenyra takes a ruthless approach. She serves rats at a banquet for the city's nobles, and orders the City Watch to search their storehouses for food. Then she distributes food to the people. For a moment, it appears that Rhaenyra might become the queen she always believed she could be, but the pressure begins changing her. Daemon wants her to use their dragons aggressively. Rhaenyra is more cautious. The two constantly disagree about how the war should be fought. And another problem appears. The people are spreading rumors that Rhaenyra's sons are bastards. Rhaenyra becomes increasingly sensitive to anyone questioning her authority. At the same time, the war in the countryside becomes even more violent. Ormond Hightower leads the Green Army toward Tumbleton. With him is Daemon Targaryen, whose presence gives the Greens another potential king. Ormond wants Daemon to become a symbol for the Green cause. But Daemon is young and uncomfortable with the brutal decisions being made around him. Tumbleton becomes one of the most important locations in the war. The town is filled with ordinary people caught between two armies. Hugh Hammer and Ulf are sent to observe the situation. But Ulf's loyalty becomes increasingly questionable. He is powerful because he rides Silverwing, yet he is also unreliable. Rhaenyra does not fully trust him. And eventually that distrust becomes justified. Elsewhere, Criston Cole and Gwaine Hightower continue fighting against the Black forces. But the war is turning against the Greens. Criston's army is ambushed by Tully soldiers. Criston realizes that his chances of survival are disappearing. He challenges his enemies and prepares to die fighting. But Alysanne Blackwood kills him. The man who helped start so much of the bloodshed finally falls on the battlefield. Gwaine survives, but the Green cause continues to weaken. Back in King's Landing, Rhaenyra's rule becomes increasingly harsh. The High Septon remains a problem. Mysaria, once one of Rhaenyra's closest allies, also becomes distant. Rhaenyra begins to suspect that people around her are manipulating her. At the same time, Daemon is dealing with his own problems. He disguises himself as a member of the City Watch and investigates murders occurring inside the city. The war has created criminals, traitors, assassins, and opportunists everywhere. Eventually, Daemon learns that Ormond Hightower has been working to destabilize Rhaenyra's rule. But the situation becomes even more dangerous when Corlys is captured. The Greens believe that holding Corlys prisoner will prevent the Valyrian forces from helping Rhaenyra. Aelin receives a brutal message about his father. The war is becoming personal for everyone. Meanwhile, Alysanne Hightower is trapped in King's Landing with her daughter Helaena. Alysanne knows that the war has destroyed her family. Her sons have become enemies. Her daughter is suffering. Her grandchildren have become political prisoners. And she realizes that there may be no way to repair the damage. Helaena is also pregnant. Alysanne tries to help her escape, but their plans fail. Rhaena discovers the pregnancy and becomes even more suspicious. Helaena's mental state continues to decline. She sees visions and understands things that others cannot. She also dreams about Aemond at Harrenhal. Rhaena eventually makes Alicent an offer. If Alicent can go to Harrenhal and kill Aemond, Rhaenyra will consider freeing them. Alicent agrees. She travels to Harrenhal. There, she finds Aemond. But Aemond is no longer the same man who left King's Landing. He has become obsessed with power and survival. Alis warns him not to trust Alicent. Aemond kills Alicent's escort. Alicent then makes a terrible decision. She poisons Aemond. Aemond collapses. Believing that she has killed him, Alicent flees into the woods. But Aemond survives. And the final conflict between the brothers is now closer than ever. Aegon eventually finds his brother at Harrenhal. He has his dragon Sunfire with him. Aemond believed that he had killed Aegon and Sunfire. So when he sees his brother alive, he immediately realizes what is happening. Aegon wants revenge. He expects Aemond to fight him. But Aemond refuses. Instead, Aemond asks for forgiveness. Aegon does not forgive him completely. Instead, he gives him a command. Find Vhagar. Help me take back the Iron Throne. The two brothers, who once fought each other for power, now have a common enemy, Rhaenyra. But while the Targaryen family destroys itself, the battle for Tumbleton reaches its climax. The Tully army arrives outside the town. Ormond Hightower knows that if Daemon attacks with Caraxes, thousands of people could die. So Ormond uses civilians as human shields. He places children along the walls, hoping Daemon will refuse to attack. But the strategy cannot stop the Black Army forever. Daemon eventually uses Caraxes to destroy the main gate. The Winter Wolves attack. Roderick Dustin leads his soldiers into the town. The fighting becomes chaotic. And then Ulf makes his move. Ulf has been secretly cooperating with the Greens, but he has also become unpredictable. When Ormond discovers him drunk and helpless, he beats him. Ulf then mounts Silverwing. The dragon takes to the sky, and suddenly the battlefield turns into a nightmare. Silverwing begins burning the Black forces, but Ulf soon changes sides again. He attacks the Greens. Dragonfire spreads through Tumbleton. Buildings collapse. Soldiers run through burning streets. Civilians are caught in the middle. Ormond Hightower and Roderick Dustin end up fighting each other. Both are eventually killed during the chaos caused by Ulf and Silverwing. Tumbleton is lost. The battle has become a massacre. Daemon also enters the fighting. He begins killing enemies with increasing brutality. For a moment, it seems that Daemon has completely surrendered himself to the violence of war. But Corlys finds him. Corlys understands that continuing the fight will only create more deaths. He convinces Daemon to retreat. The Black Army leaves the ruined town behind. But there is another tragedy waiting. Hugh Hammer finds Kat. She is dead. Hugh is devastated. The woman he wanted to protect has become another casualty of the dance. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra receives terrible news. Helaena is dead. Helaena has jumped from a window. She chooses death, rather than remaining a prisoner of Rhaenyra and becoming a political tool. Her death is especially painful, because Helaena was one of the few characters who seemed almost completely disconnected from the hunger for power. Before her death, she leaves behind an embroidered image. Rhaenyra sees it. The image shows Rhaenyra bleeding on the Iron Throne. It appears to be a warning of what is coming. Rhaenyra has spent the entire season trying to prove that she is the rightful queen. But her victory is beginning to look like a curse. She has executed Otto. She has killed the High Septon. She has imprisoned members of her own family. She has lost Jace. And now Helaena is dead. Rhaenyra is becoming the very kind of ruler she once feared. The season ends with Westeros more divided than ever. Aegon is alive. Aemond is alive. Rhaenyra still controls King's Landing. Daemon remains with the Black Forces. Corlys has survived. Alicent is wandering alone after believing she has killed her son. And the armies of Westeros continue preparing for more bloodshed. The Dance of the Dragons is nowhere near finished. Instead, Season 3 shows that the war has reached a new stage. The dragons are no longer simply weapons used by kings and queens. They are becoming uncontrollable forces that destroy everything around them. And the greatest tragedy is that most of the people fighting this war believe they are fighting for their family. Rhaenyra believes she is fighting for her father's decision. Aegon believes he is fighting for his crown. Aemond believes he is fighting for survival and power. Daemon believes he is fighting for his family and his own legacy. Alicent believes she is trying to protect her children. But every decision creates another death. Every victory creates another enemy. And every dragon that enters the sky brings Westeros closer to complete destruction. As Season 3 ends, Rhaenyra looks toward the Iron Throne. She finally has what she wanted, but the price of getting there has become almost impossible to ignore. Her son's death, her family's destruction, the death of Helaena, the bloodshed at Tumbleton, and the growing fear among the people she claims to rule. The Iron Throne may belong to Rhaenyra for now, but the throne has never offered peace. It only creates another reason for people to fight. And somewhere in the darkness, Aegon and Aemond are preparing to strike back. The final season will decide how this terrible civil war ends. Because in the world of Westeros, the question was never simply who deserves the crown. The real question is, how much blood will be spilled before someone finally loses it? This is the Dance of the Dragons, and the dance is far from over. House of the Dragon Season 3 ends with the Targaryen Civil War entering its darkest chapter yet. And that's where House of the Dragon Season 3 comes to an end. Rhaenyra may still hold King's Landing, but the war is far from over. Aegon and Aemond remain dangerous. Daemon is still preparing for battle, and the Targaryen Civil War has already cost countless lives. The Dance of the Dragons is entering its final and most devastating stage. If you enjoyed this full Season 3 recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more movie and series story recaps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.